guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my mid-month wrap-up for January. It is my first wrap-up of the year, and I'm very excited, and I am now using digital journaling. You can't really, oh, there we go. I am using GoodNotes to track all of my reading this year, so I have a specific notebook for my reading. I have a couple of pages for my book clubs, but then I start off with January, and I am using this to keep track of each book. It's not like a full-length review, but it has the photo, the tropes, the character names, how I read it, what book number it was, and the genre and the character names. So I'm very excited to have this. I just have to keep up to date with it. I actually am. I read 15 books this month. I have now read 16 books, and I'm up to 14 in here, so I just have to add 2 to it. And I am excited. If you guys want a video on like my digital journaling, please let me know. But if I'm looking down, I have this, and it's actually helpful because I don't know character names to save my life, and so I write it down here so I know exactly what to talk about when I talk about this book. So the first couple books I read, I actually was in the middle of in December, so it felt like I was reading really quickly in January, but I literally had like an hour of this audiobook left. So the first book I read is Dead Drop by Tate James. This is book 2 in the Guild series. I loved Honey Trap so much. This is book 2. Honey Trap, she was kidnapped, and like it's poly, so 2 guys are obsessed with her, and you know they're all gonna end up together. So this one, she escapes from being kidnapped and is kind of like running between the 2 guys. Someone is hired to kill her, so she has all these guys. It's like a hit put out on her, so tons of people are trying to murder her, and she is between the 2 guys, uncovering secrets about Leo, and Kai being just obsessed with her and wanting her back because he was the one that kidnapped her in book 1. I did enjoy this one, but I didn't love it as much as book 1 because I love the whole kidnapping scenario. This one, she's just like on the run. It was more boring than book 1, but like longer than book 1, I think. So I gave it 4 stars. I still love these characters. I still love how psychotic both the men are and how obsessed they are with the heroine, and how they are all like just like assassin spies, so they know how to get things done. She can definitely take care of herself, take any bad guy down, but the guys feel very protective of her too. So if that sounds fun to you, I love a good assassin story, check this one out. So then the next book I read is for Sam's reading vlog. I did a reading vlog reading Sam from Sam Reads Little's picks. Is a challenge to see which of my best friends can pick the best books for me, and you can check out that video to see the place that Sam is in, but she picked A Photo Finish by Elsie Silver as one of the books. I believe this was the last book for that video. I read most of them in December, but then I read this one, and this one is a 5-star read. This one is a small town romance. It's actually book 2 in her Gold Rush Ranch series, but I decided to read it as a standalone because Sam picked it out for me. And I'm gonna go back and read the beginning ones in the series, but this is Violet and Cole. It is actually a second chance romance because nobody knows that Violet and Cole were talking online, falling for each other, and then something happened where like they never spoke again. And now they are back together in person because Violet is a jockey for this ranch, and that is where Cole's family is and works for. So I think it's like his brother owns the ranch, and the first book I think is the brother story, so that's why I want to go and read it. But Violet ends up getting injured and can't use her leg, and so she has to recover and stay off of it, and that means she can't do stairs, and so they tell her she has to move in with Cole. He does live in a house that is 1 story, so she won't have to use stairs and she can stay on the first floor, and they don't want to because they hate each other, but then they start getting closer and feeling very protective over each other, and there's a horse involved. It's super adorable, and I love this one. There's a secret about the hero that took me by surprise that I loved, and I loved Violet's reaction to it, and he's just the epitome of a grumpy hero, and she is definitely sunshine, and I loved it so much. The second chance aspect, they're really angry at each other, hate each other, but then fall for each other, and the family too. Elsie Silver writes family really well, and the heroine of this one is actually the sister to the heroes of her other series, so if you love Flawless and Heartless, you'll want to read this one. Then I listened to the audiobook of Until You by Katarina Mora. This is an author I definitely want to check out, but this was the only one my library had on audio by her, and this one is a brother's best friend romance where they grew up together and their parents were, I believe, murdered. The heroine's parents were murdered, I'm pretty sure, unless I'm not remembering that correctly, but she's really close with her brother, and she is dating this like really awful guy. And she is really good at coding and like tech and stuff. And so what happens is that she actually has like an online persona working for this group who helps people and like digs up dirt on like bad guys and like helps put bad guys away. And the hero actually like runs that group, and he's been talking to this girl online in that group, falling for her. They're falling for each other digitally and then falling for each other in person, but they don't know like that's who they're talking to. And so he ends up offering the heroine a job when she realizes something really awful about her boyfriend, and the brother is like, she's gonna have to move, and she's gonna have to move in with you because the job's like in LA and they don't live there. And so he's like, take care of her, watch out for her if she moves. So they move in together and obviously fall in love, and he has always been very super overprotective of her. I really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I think like once the move happened, it was less exciting because they were just like isolated alone together. There were a lot of like stakes once they were moving in together because like the brother wasn't there, but I thought it was a really cute romance. I love the brother's best friend. Solid 4 stars, but I'm excited to read more from this author of my favorite tropes because she has like a marriage of convenience, she has an amnesia romance, so high hopes for this author. Then I read 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elson. This one is a YA romance that I read with my students in our book club at school. It is a Christmas romance. She is broken up with, she like overhears her boyfriend talking about wanting to break up with her, so she freaks out, and so she leaves and decides to spend Christmas with her grandparents, I believe. Like, she has a huge extended family, and her parents are gonna go visit her pregnant sister, and she is not gonna go with them, and her family decides to set her up on all these blind dates to find her someone to love by the end of the Christmas season. And it was fine. I'm just like not into YA at all anymore. I used to love YA romances, but now I just don't care. I didn't care about their drama. I was more just like passively listening to the audiobook because it was fine. It was entertaining. Like, my students loved it. They think it was one of the favorite books we've read so far this year. They loved all the dates she went on, and they loved the romance and who she ended up with, but I give it 3 stars because it just like, it was fine. Then I ended up picking up Mile High by Liz Tomford. I did a reading vlog where I read your favorite books of 2023, and I first heard about this book from my friend Caitlin from the Love Librarian, one of her top favorite reads of the year last year, so I was very excited. It is a hate-to-love hockey player romance. The heroine is a flight attendant for the hero's private plane for his hockey team. She has a brother though who is a professional basketball player, so she is like not at all impressed by professional sports people. And so the heroine, Stevie, she is not impressed with Xander's. He is instantly like, ooh, who are you? And she's like, you're a jerk. I know your reputation, because he has a very bad reputation, like bad boy reputation, who sleeps around all the time. And she's like, I'm not going to give you the time of day. And so he is instantly attracted to her, but she does have a lot of insecurities because she is a plus size heroine and she was in a relationship that did not leave her feeling good about her body at all. So she does have insecurities there. And I loved the way Xander's was like, you are literally perfect. There are scenes in here that I was highlighting about that where he was like, look at you. You're the most gorgeous person I have ever laid eyes on. And it was just so amazing. I love that representation in here, and we also have a lot of mental health talk in here as well. Xander's has a really big problem with his anger, and especially because of something that happened in his past that keeps on coming back. And so he's been in therapy for a long time, and he actually is one of the co-founders of a organization that gives back to athletes and talking about mental health and giving them access to therapy. And I love that in here as well. Xander's was such a complex character because he was this like bad boy playboy, but he also had so much depth to him, and I was obsessed. I loved his relationship with his best friend and their family, with his wife and daughters, and Xander's fell so hard. He fell so hard for Stevie. I was obsessed with the romance. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I was obsessed with so much about this book, and I could not stop reading it. I loved the hate to love aspect, but how they were always bumping into each other, and they had so many inside jokes, like, you following me? And oh my gosh, it was so good. 5 out of 5 stars. Love the forced proximity, and it was also forbidden because she would be fired if she fraternized with any of the hockey players, so amazing. Then I listened to the audiobook of Mixed Signals by BK Boris, and I actually got to interview her on my channel, so that'll be linked down below if you want to check it out. She is a lovely person. This one I gave 4 stars. It's definitely my least favorite in this series, but it's still a really solid series. None of them got lower than a 4-star read. This one, our heroine owns a bakery, and the hero is a substitute teacher, and they are horrible at dating. They can never find someone that they really like or like have a relationship that progresses, and they don't understand. So they decide to date each other to see where they went wrong in dating. So very adorable. It's like sunshine is what I have written down, because they are just rays of light. They're happy people who just want to find that person for them, and they start falling for each other, but then they're like, are we falling for each other, or are we like dating because we said we date? And it just gets a little messy, but like in a good way, but not in a super messy way. And I really enjoyed it. We have the small town aspect as well that I love in this series. We get to see Beckett again. Beckett is my favorite. I loved him in book 1. So I give this 4 stars. Super sweet and cute. Not as all-consuming emotional as book 2 was. That's why I gave it 4 stars, but still a great series that I would highly recommend checking out. Okay, so then I finally finished, I think I started this in August. It was my like to read at school book when I had any like downtime or when we did independent read with my kids, but I always had something else I was reading that I was more interested in. But I finally finished So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lukens. I loved their previous book. What was it called? It was like the pirate one. That was so good. I give that one 5 stars. But this one, oh, In Deep Waters. So good. This one is MM, and it's like what happens after they defeat the villain. So this guy and his friends, it is Eric and Matt. So Eric defeated this villain with his friends, and they're like, who's gonna rule next? And so Eric is chosen, and they did not know there's a stipulation that he has to find his soulmate or else he like dies. And so he spends the book trying to find his soulmate, trying to like learn how to rule, gain respect from the people, and get into all these like bad situations like fighting off monsters and stuff. And really he's in love with his best friend Matt, who is like a magician mage guy, and he is trying to help him find his soulmate. And so it was a little frustrating because they literally just had to like talk to each other and admit that they liked each other. But Eric was like, well, Matt, I gave him hints and he didn't take them, so he obviously doesn't like me. And Matt was like, I didn't see your hints. And like it was just like, that could have been avoided. So I did give this one 3.5 stars. I ended up rounding up to 4. It was still really cute and such a fun premise, and I love this author's writing and her books and her storytelling. I said it was kind of a rom-com because it was just like things going wrong and him trying to like figure out if people liked him. So there was like a truth serum he tried to like love potion thing give to someone, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. Not as much as the other one I read by this author, but still a fun YA. Then I read The Long Game by Rachel Reed for that reading vlog. Reading your favorite books of 2022, and this one is a forbidden romance. It is Shane and Ilya's story, and it is just so good. I teared up at the end. So this is book 2 to Shane and Ilya's story. I don't remember what book in the series it is. I think it's like 6 in the series. But Shane and Ilya had book 2. They were rivals, but then they started hooking up, but they hated each other, and then they decided to be together but not come out. Shane is openly gay, but Ilya is bisexual, and he is not like openly bisexual. Not because he doesn't want to be, but because he is now dating Shane, and they don't want to be out yet because of the repercussions of being out in the NHL. And so Shane is on a team that's doing really well. Ilya decided to move to a Canadian team to be by Shane. So he was like the all-star on his team. They were doing so well. But then he moved and it's like not that good of a team. And so he's trying to just like make friends and deal with his changed life and having a long distance relationship, because while they are close, they're constantly traveling all the time and have different hockey schedules. And it did get a little redundant because Ilya was really struggling, but Shane was like not acknowledging his struggles, and I was getting a little annoyed with Shane. But the ending killed me. Like they finally have their HEA. Like they had an A happy for now at the end of book 2, but this one was them finally figure things out, and it was amazing. I gave it 4.5 stars because I was a little annoyed at the redundancy and how long this book was, but the emotions are amazing. I love these characters. They are just one of my favorite couples, especially in a hockey romance, and it's so good. The ending was so good. So definitely check this series out if you haven't yet. Then I am doing a read along for the Runaway series by Devney Perry with my friend Tori from Novel Life. We've already read the first 2 books, and this week is for book 3. We're gonna have our live show next time on February 1st to talk about the last 3 books, but I did read Runaway Road, which is book 1. It is a pretty much insta-love romance, small town. It follows 6 friends who all lived in a junkyard together in high school because they were escaping horrible lives, and our heroine in this one is getting a divorce because her husband was cheating on her, and she takes a car that she had redone because it was in the junkyard and she lived in it, so she fixed it all up and is driving it across the country back to California, but she breaks down, and the person who finds her calls a mechanic to the small town next to where they are, and he shows up and they're immediately attracted to each other, and it's their romance, and it's very insta-love. She's only there for a couple weeks, and something keeps on happening to her car where it's being sabotaged, so her leaving gets pushed back and they fall in love, and it's very cute. I gave it 4 stars though, because insta-love's like not my favorite, but I literally read this in a day. It is so fast. It's 250 pages, and even then, it's got pretty big font, so I flew through this book. It only took me a couple hours to read, but it's a lot of fun. I really love the whole aspect of her escaping whenever she can, because she's used to people leaving her, and the ending was just very dramatic but very sweet. Definitely has parallels to book 2 as well, with the fact that they're runaways. They don't trust people or let them in, but I'm very intrigued by all the other characters' stories to come. So then I went into Wild Highway, which is book 2. This is Gemma's book. We met her in the previous book, and she is like a millionaire, and she though is just not happy with her life. So she is the one that grew up in the junkyard as well, because her mom was not a good person and did not protect her enough from the people that were in her life. So she ended up running away to the junkyard as well, and then she became super successful, but she never felt like she had a life. She didn't feel like she had a life that she loved. So she sold everything, is now a millionaire with the money, and she decides to drive her car. She's gonna take it to California, but she stops in Montana, where her and her other friend from the junkyard ran away to work, and she just ran off in the middle of the night and didn't tell anybody, and took an opportunity of someone that she met there and didn't look back, which meant that she left a guy there that she had a one-night stand with, who was very angry she left. So that is our hero, who is Easton. His family owns the resort that's there, and the other woman she left behind still works there, so she had to build bridges back up from the friend that she left, and Easton hates her. He hates her guts. He's like, you're gonna leave, you run away, I hate you. So it's hate to love. I really love that. I did go to give this one 4 out of 5 stars. I was obsessed. Thought it was gonna be a 5-star read, but then we had some other woman drama that I wasn't the biggest fan of, and then the ending felt very repetitive to book 1. So I was like, we've already done this once before. So I gave this 4 out of 5 stars though. Again, very quick to read. Great small town romance. It takes place on this resort where Easton does ride horses. There are horses involved, so I love a man on a horse in a romance. Really enjoy this one. Definitely check the series out if you want something very quick and easy to get through. Then I read The Lawyer by Marty Mann on audio, and I did not like this one. I gave it 2 stars. It was like 70% spice and like 30% plot, and I was like, I don't need another sex scene now. Like, it was so repetitive, and it starts off with a one-night stand. So the hero and heroine meet, have a one-night stand together, and she realizes that the hero is actually her sister's lawyer, and her sister's like a reality star, and then they're like, wait, but you'd be an amazing reality star, and so they sign her on to a show, and the sister gets all catty and like jealous and angry. She then is like also dating this lawyer, but not really, and being on this reality show, and I feel like there was not at all any substance to this reality show. We barely met any of the characters. I didn't even like get the point of the show. Was it just to like follow them around? Like, I don't know. There was not a lot fleshed out about the show, other than the fact that they would show when they were filming and drama would happen, and she'd run to the hero for help, and then they'd sleep together, and then that was really it. So I was pretty bored reading this whole book, and this is my second Marty Mann book, and I'm pretty sure I've given both of them 2 stars. So if you have a different one you love by her, let me know. Other than that though, I don't think I'm going to continue on with the series. It just, I didn't care. Then for that reading vlog that I was chatting about, I read The Frat Boy by Nikki Sloan, and The Doctor is amazing. One of my favorites. It's the Nashville Neighborhood series. I read books 1 and 2. I've not read The Architect yet, but this one came out and was on someone's list for favorites of the year. 5 stars. It started and I was a little wary. They're at a like fraternity and sorority competition, and they're in this thing, and the heroine, they need the money to fix like their house, but the hero's frat needs the money, and so they're racing, and someone cheats, and she like calls them out for cheating because she lost, and they're like, they didn't cheat, and then they get into this giant fight, and she absolutely hates this guy who started this fight like with her, and they end up getting in trouble and get kicked out of the fraternity and sorority for what happened. And so they need a house, and they both find the same ad for an adult film company working out of a home in this Nashville neighborhood. And so they walk in for their interview tryout and realize it's each other, but they are both so stubborn and hate each other so much they will not go through with it. So they do a scene together, and their attraction is off the charts. And so the rest of the book is them in this house working together, and oh my gosh, this had a lot of spice, but like the spice was part of the plot and part of their play with each other of, oh my god, I hate you so much, but I'm gonna get control over you, and I'm not gonna let you get control over me, but like I really want you, but I don't want you to know that I want you. And it was so good. And then feelings start getting involved, and that's where the plot goes from here. I was obsessed. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. So spicy, but like the tension and chemistry between these two was amazing. We got to see the characters from the previous books, which I really loved seeing them as well, and I could not put this book down. Like, I flew through it in like 2 days, obsessed. Please read this book. Such a good hate to love. Then I did read an arc of An Optimist Guide to Heartbreak by Jennifer Hartman. This one comes out, I think, this week. So it's coming out soon. This one is book 1 to a duet. It does have a cliffhanger. This was supposed to be like a lighthearted one from Jennifer, but like, it's Jennifer Hartman, it can't be lighthearted. This one is about Lucy and Cal, who were best friends growing up, and Lucy was really best friends with Cal's sister, and Lucy and Cal were like dancing around feelings for each other, but they were like 12, 13, so nothing really happened of it. Something happened, and then Cal moved away, and they have not spoken since. And so Lucy is back in town. She actually buys Cal's old house, and she gets a job where Cal works. She is determined to like see him and reconnect, and he is the epitome of a grumpy hero. Like, she is sunshine, he is grump. He does not want her there. He is like, what are you doing here? No, he works like at a mechanic shop. I never know what to call those, but he is a mechanic, and he owns the garage, and she sees that they need a secretary, like front desk worker, and she applies, and he's like, sorry, it's filled. She's like, what are you talking about? No, it's not. And so he reluctantly hires her, and she just wants to make his life better and reconnect, and he's like, but you can't talk about Emma. That's all we know. He's like, you can't talk about her. So he is so grumpy and angry, but he is so protective and jealous of her. Oh my gosh. The minute a man even looks at Lucy, Cal is like, stop looking at her. I'm gonna like beat you. Like, it is so funny how protective he is and how obsessed he is with Lucy, and such a slow burn romance. And this is part 1 of a duet, so it's still such slow burn romance, but like, oh my gosh, the tension between them is amazing, and I love it. There's a cliffhanger. Has me freaking out. Definitely so many secrets that I'm dying to get to, but I give 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. You have to read it. Then I listened to audio of Broken Clocks by Danielle Allen. This one, I was nervous because I heard Danielle Allen talk about the ending and how it makes people mad, and I will tell you, just so you know, there is no HEA in this book. You have to know that before reading it. I feel like it's fair game to say that, because if it does not have an HEA, it's not a romance. So this one is about our heroine, who she and this guy broke up. So it's Layla and Will. They broke up, and Will tried moving on, and now they reconnected and they want to try again. However, someone from Will's past comes in and says, hey, guess what? You're kind of stuck with me. I'm not gonna say what happens, but then Layla and Will are trying to see if they can work it out, and Layla goes through a lot. Trigger warnings for talk of cancer in here, and I think she has PCOS. So there are a lot of layers to this story and what the characters go through, and it's definitely a right person, wrong time, working through a lot that life throws your way, and I enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5, 4 stars because I didn't love that choice at the ending, because I'm like, wait, what? So it was very interesting though, watching them try to work through this relationship and trying to communicate about like how they felt about how the other character was acting and the choices they were making. So it was very emotional. I still really enjoyed it. More like a 4 star. I think I'll settle on a 4 star because I did really enjoy the angst of we can't be together. I love when characters can't be together and have to work through it. So this one, I liked it. It was good. It was a solid romance from Danielle Allen. I do like her lighthearted stuff better, but I still really enjoyed this one. And then the last book I read was My Professor by Shanora Williams. I wish I looked at Goodreads before starting this because it is a novella. It was like a 3.5 hour audio, and it has like a 3.3 rating on Goodreads. I just saw it at my library and I was like, oh, Shanora Williams, like I'll read it. It was a novella, so that means it wasn't really that well developed, and it was pretty insta-love. Like, the heroine, she's in college and she falls for her professor, and she met him because she like spilled coffee, and she was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so embarrassed. She felt very young. I don't love it when the age gap, the heroine feels very young. I like it when they are more mature because I like believe in the romance more. And so she was very immature, and she was like going to study groups, and like he's like, oh my gosh, like she likes literature and she's so smart. Like, as in like, okay, like girls who like literature are a dime a dozen. Like, she is not special just because she reads. So I thought that was like, I didn't really like believe why the professor was like infatuated with her, and then like he takes her on a business trip with him, and I did like the ending. I like liked the twist that took, but overall it was just average. It was like your average forbidden age gap romance, so I gave it 3 stars. And those are all the books that I've read so far in the first half of January. Let me know what you read, and if you've read any of these. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.